What's up, guys? I'm here at my wrestling academy. I'm in the barbershop. So if you look behind me, look. We got the barber chair. We legit got the whole hookup in the shop. Not the shop, actually, the gym. And as the kids are wrestling, something came to mind. And it was some of the things that I've seen over the last few days regarding Israel Adesanya and Khamzat Chimaev. Now, people have started to think that Chimaev is the worst possible matchup for Israel Adesanya, even though he's a weight below and Jared Cannonier is the #1 contender. I disagree. And not only do I disagree, I kind of disagree in an emphatic way. Why? Do I believe there's a world where Khamzat Chimaev beats Israel Adesanya? Possibly. Do I believe that, as Henry Cejudo said, it's an easy fight? Not at all. Now, let me tell you why. It's in the matchup. Izzy is one of those guys that is tremendously talented. He's next level striker. He is in phenomenal shape. Dude is an absolute star at this point. He's one of the biggest stars the UFC has today and one of the biggest stars that we've ever seen. The one thing about Adesanya, though, is that he is probably the highest caliber counter-striker that we have seen inside of the octagon. Why does that apply to a fight with Chimaev? If we look at the Gerald Meerschaert fight, we look at the fight in Abu Dhabi, the 3 fights in Abu Dhabi, we look at the Li Jingliang fight, the first thing Khamzat does is he pressures. He doesn't know any other way. The first thing I did was I pressured. First thing Cain Velasquez did was pressure. First thing Khabib did was pressure. With all that being said, I think Israel Adesanya is a nightmare matchup for every single one of us. Why? Because of that pressure. Because that pressure leads to you falling into traps that Adesanya sets so beautifully. Remember, we thought when it came to Paulo Costa that his pressure and his pace was going to be a real problem for Izzy. He was undefeated going into that fight. It did not look like anybody would be able to handle or withstand the type of pressure that he was able to put on you, especially when we saw what he did to Yoel Romero, a guy that was historically one of the most difficult puzzles to figure out. Izzy wiped him out. Kelvin Gastelum, he fought with a lot of pressure, a lot of pace. And although it led to a lot of success, a lot of sustained success, ultimately, it was his undoing. Because when we got to round 5, not only was Kelvin Gastelum not able to keep that pressure up because he was having to take so much damage to get to Izzy, Izzy had started to break him down. Because at every turn, when Gastelum was landing, he was having to go through so much in order to get to Adesanya, that by round 5, Adesanya dropped him 2 times, if not more. And if there was a little more time left in the fight, he would have gotten finished. So for all that he did, for as beautiful of a fight as you think Kelvin Gastelum had, he got beat. And it was only going to get worse if there was more time in which Adesanya had to operate. Robert Whittaker saw the first fight. Robert Whittaker tried to do what Kelvin did. Robert Whittaker was knocked out in 2 rounds. Fast forward 2 years, now we have seen him fight Yoel, or we had already seen him fight Yoel. We have seen him fight Jan Blachowicz, and we have seen him fight Marvin Vettori. 2 guys that were more willing to fight the slow fight, to take their time, to not really take any risk. Blachowicz fought a beautiful fight. He took the leg kicks as they presented themselves. He took the takedowns when they were available. Robert Whittaker now takes this into the next fight. He says, I'm going to follow that game plan. I'm not going to be head first. I'm going to skirt on the outside. I'm going to enter on my own terms. And I'm going to try to get takedowns. Robert Whittaker gave himself a chance. And even though he didn't win, he should be very proud of what he accomplished in the octagon on Saturday against Israel Adesanya. Why? Because he went 5 rounds. On 2 judges' scorecards, it was 48-47. That is a difference of 1 round. So all Robert Whittaker had to do is get 2 judges to see the fight a little bit different, and he's the middleweight champion of the world again. He goes out there and he's aggressive, like I would have been, like Velasquez would have been, like Khabib would have been, and so many countless others would have been. The fight would not have played out that way. He might have gotten himself knocked out again. So when you tell me Khamzat Chimaev is the guy to beat Israel Adesanya, Henry Cejudo, and I know that Khamzat Chimaev is a face-forward pressure fighter trying to wrestle but also land big strikes. He's very talented, Chimaev is. Still a bit untested, but very, very talented. As game as they come, hits like a Mack truck, can wrestle at the highest levels, and has confidence through the years. But ultimately, all that still leads to him being the type of matchup that we see the last stylebender thrive in. That we see the last stylebender have outstanding performances, crowd-pleasing performances. The ones that we don't see Izzy in, the ones that we don't see him have crowd-pleasing performances in, is when the guy is more willing to take it slow. I said this the other day. I said, hey, if you're okay getting booed in a fight with Israel Adesanya, then you are in the fight with Israel Adesanya. Because he wants to counter. He doesn't want to lead the dance at most arts. Even Coach Behrman the other day, the genius that he is, said Izzy was very left-hand centric. I wish he would have did a little bit more with the right hand. He told us to Ariel. Part of the reason was because he was having to set up and start a lot of those exchanges because Rob was not engaging him on the terms that he is most used to. It's that simple. It's that simple. I know it sounds weird for me to say it's simple when Izzy has done the things that he's done, but when you watch the fights, when you pay close attention, you understand that if you want a chance, you got to be so patient. If you want a chance, a real chance, you got to stay on the outside. You got to play the game. That's why I don't know if I like Khamzat's chances right now. Because I don't believe that at this point in his career, he's willing to stay on the outside. He's a savage. Khamzat Chimaev is an absolute dog. But I don't know if it's an absolute dog that's going to beat Adesanya. I think it's going to be a smart fighter. I think it's going to be a guy that plays the game. Even Anderson. Anderson took a round off of Izzy at his age because Anderson is notorious for taking his time. That's why we've seen some of the performances where people were booing and not liking Anderson. Because he fights with a patience about him that is next level. So does Adesanya. Does Khamzat have a chance at some point? Yes, I agree. Does Khamzat have a chance today? I don't know. I don't know if he's willing. I don't know if he's willing to play the game to the point that will allow for him to beat the last stylebender. Does it change? Izzy's the man. Number 2 pound for pound and one of the best fighters the Octagon has ever seen. Will Khamzat Chimaev be thought of on that level at some point? Oh, yes. He's a dog. When it comes to matchups, it's a matter of understanding the opponent in front of you. Now, Khamzat comes from a great camp at All-Stars. So I know that his coach, Andreas Michael, will put together a game plan that will give him a shot. And if they do that effectively with his ability to take down and smash, maybe. But I've seen the kid. I've seen him in there, and I see how aggressive he is. And I believe that that aggressiveness could be your undoing. So, Henry Cejudo, stay in your place, my man. You're a great coach and athlete. But you don't do this. I mean, this is my lane. This is Uncle Chael's lane. This is where we live. You can't sit there and say that Khamzat wins this fight easy. Nobody beats the stylebender easy, especially when you're fighting the way that he fights. The one thing I will say about that fight, though, if it does happen, I'm hitting the buy button because I'm all in to see those two fight. But let's not look past Jared Cannonier. Dude is on a roll. And again, great team at Fight Ready. And they're going to have him ready to go to try to solve the puzzle that is Israel Adesanya. Can't wait for it. Like, subscribe. Make sure you tune in. All these fights are massive. And I'm just lucky enough to be the guy that sits next to the octagon while it's happening. Guys, bang that like button. Hit subscribe and tell your friend that DC's out here dropping knowledge. Peace.